What does it take to lead with purpose across continents and across cultures? How does an educator from Senegal go on to shape schools in the US and be knighted by the French Republic for his impact? Hello, and welcome to Mentium. On today's Stories of Impact, we explore the extraordinary journey of a man who believes education is not just about classrooms. It's about creating bridges, transforming communities, and inspiring the next generation of global citizens. I am extremely honored to sit down with my brother, my friend, and my mentor, Elimane Mbengue, an international educator and the current superintendent at Académie Lafayette. Born and raised in Senegal, Mr. Mbengue's journey has taken him across continents, from teaching in Dakar in England to leading in US schools, always driven by a passion for excellence and equity in education. With more than a decade of leadership at Académie Lafayette, prestigious recognitions like the Chevalier dans l'Ordre des Palmes académiques from the French Republic, and a career dedicated to nurturing minds and building bridges across cultures. Mr. Mbengue's story is the masterclass in purpose, leadership, persistence, and global impact. I want to invite you to dive into his inspiring journey and the lesson he has learned along the way. Without any further ado, Mr. Mbengue, can you tell us about who you are, your journey, and your story?
Well, I am the superintendent of Académie Lafayette Public Charter School, which a school, a charter district in Kansas City, Missouri, providing French immersion education, international baccalaureate, and so on. I started this professional journey in Senegal. I was a school teacher, elementary school teacher in the rural area. I know when people talk about abri provisoire, I did that. I did my CAP in abri provisoire. I'm from a humble origin in Nioro Dirip, at the center of Senegal. And of course, I worked my way from being a elementary school teacher to a high school teachers and inspector of education, and then ended up in the U.S. doing almost the same job because the superintendent is the inspector of education here in the United States.
Elimane, I know when I ask somebody to tell us about their journey, their roots, I really want them to dig deeper. What is it in your upbringing that made you who you are today?
Because I know I have learned the risk of chaos, disorganization first. Because I come, as I said, from a humble beginning. My parents didn't go to school. However, we have the real values, family values of integrity and honesty and hard work. And also believe in yourself. Because my dad always had trust in me and thinking that whatever I will be, he always thought that, and my mom too, that I should be doing fine, and then told me that, as you know, I'm a jump. So to delineate your zone, the jump, as I said, what you know you will not do. So I started my elementary, as I said, schooling in Senegal, in Nioro Dirip. And I realized, of course, I had some freedom, but as I told you, my parents had some trust in me and then expected me to carry on those values anywhere I am. So,
are you the elder in your family? When you say my parents trusted me,
yeah, I have an older brother, as you know, a brother, of course. I mean, older sister, of course, a couple of older sisters and brothers and sisters, of course, and we grew up together in a really family grounded environment where we have family values and working together, sharing things together, and understanding the value of helping each other too. So, yes, I have I would say 3 brothers and 3 sisters. I'm in the middle.
Now, can you walk me through your journey at Sheikh Anta Diop University? I know when you came there, you were what they called NE. Can you talk to me a little
Yes.
bit about that?
As I told you, when I got my high school degree, what's called baccalaureate, I chose to study law first. I went to the law department. I spent 1 year there. I was brilliant because I passed the first year in June, as we said. But the same year, I decided to pass the exam to become a teacher, elementary school teacher. But because, believe it or not, it has been a dream of mine to become a teacher. My friend at the law department thought I was crazy. Why would you leave? I mean, the first year you pass in June, you had what's called bourse entière, a full scholarship. At the time was 26,400, and everything. I decided to drop it and go and become a elementary school teacher because it was really my dream. And people told me that you lack ambitions, and that's what they said. Little did they know that it's not about that. I'm going to work my way back anyway. So I went there. I was sent to Seju, in the Department of Seju, in what we call Balantakunda, in a rural area. Small village, 3 classrooms. I had my CAP there in an abri provisoire. And then after that, I started studying and decided that I'm going to do English because in high school, I was pretty good in English. And what's called the NE, normally institutor, is an exam open to elementary school teachers that have their high school degree. If you have a high school degree and you're an elementary school teacher, you can sit for that exam. And if you pass, you were sent to the university at École Normale Supérieure to study to become a high school teacher. It's an extremely selective concours.
It was.
Our what do you say, promotion, our group, we were nine teachers, 3 from English and 6 for lettres modernes, French. So we came there. And then, as you know, I was already extremely organized from high school. When I was in high school, extremely organized. I had my personal schedule, and I know what day I'm going to work, what day I'm going to go and see my friends. And if you're my friend and you come and see me on, let's say, Sunday or Saturday, I'm planning to study, I mean, I'm not going to work. It's not going to work. Extremely organized. And then it helped me. It really helped me. That discipline helped me to be one of the highly performing student there. I was among the top 2 in my class all the time. So I carry on that organization at the university. And I was extremely organized too at the university. I went to the Department of English and then keep on working really hard, of course. And I had brilliant results there at the Department of English. And then after that, as you know, what is called the assistana. So we had this another kind of exam or concours or selection of who will be going to the United States or Exeter. Exeter was the crown jewel, like the highest one that everybody wanted to go to. I was selected.
I remember.
I was selected out of, I think, 250 students, and then to go to Exeter. A great experience for me because it was the first time I realized I was Black. When you're in Senegal, it's normal. But when you get to England and you turn around and everything you see is white, you say, wow, now I'm a minority. So that's the first time I realized it, but I found great friends there. The job was to teach French at the university. First year students, second year, and licence, fourth year, because the third year, they're supposed to go to France. So I was teaching French for first year, second. And I think I did a pretty good job because the same year, there was an inspection of the university. The inspectors came and visited me and gave me a really good grade. The department head called me and said, hey, do you want to stay? And I said, no, I'm going back home. I mean, people thought I was crazy. Because once you go to Europe, you should stay. You're not coming back. I was planning anyway to go back because my dream was to do a doctorate and become a teacher at the university. So, because I had the grade to do that. And that's how I get back. And then when I came back, did my training as a high school teacher, and again, passed another concours exam selection to become an inspector of education, and I did the training. So in Senegal, that's my journey there,
Yes.
professional. And but in Senegal too, I was involved all the time. I've been involved in activities and community service all the time. When I was in my hometown, I was president of ISA, Association Culturelle et Sportive. In Dakar, I was the president of the University Economy Superior Students. I was president, and then even next year I was the coordinator or president of the Afro-Caribbean Society, a great society. And then we did a lot of things. We have Caribbean students from France, black students. So I was president of Afro-Caribbean Society. So even here in England, in the US, I created the first Senegalese association in Portland, Oregon. And then when I was in Kansas City, OC, I started organizing the Senegalese Independence Day in my own house until it becomes very big. So I've been always involved in community.
I mean, look, leadership is in your DNA. I know most of these things, but I just want my viewers to understand who you really are. Not just an educator, not just a school leader, but somebody who's very, very brilliant. Now, for a young person who's watching this, what can you tell them about the importance of discipline, but the importance of really knowing what you want very early? Because you said you went to England. Anybody who went over there stayed. I know a lot of people who stayed, studied, did their PhD, and never look back. But you decided, when given the opportunity, you decided to come back home because you had a plan. Now, how did you manage to be like that in such a tender age?
Yeah, that's right. I always say, everything it was doing well. And when I'm studying, when I borrow from the vocabulary of peasantry, I mean, what is called bayat commonly. Let's say nulle part will I mean the past, will explain the past, not the past. I wanna learn. I'm learning. I'm not joking. And I think it's effort and discipline, self-discipline, self-efficacy, and then believing in your own capacity. Everybody is born with capacity, potential, and it's about believing and exploiting it and moving forward. That's what I did in high school. That's what I did when I was. All these exams I passed were extremely selective, and I attribute it to hard work, discipline, and then believing in where you're going. Have the faith in yourself. Ethics is important also, because wherever you are, if you're ethical, you can lead. People look up to you because you're ethical.
If
Extremely
you are not
important.
ethical, you cannot lead.
No, because leadership is complex. You don't force people to lead them. I mean, even if you force impose, people comply out of, fear or something like that. But the ethics, leading by example, make it much easier for you.
Absolutely.
And then you inspire people to follow you. And then they believe in you because you have a clear vision of where they're going, and you communicate very clearly to where you're going. And communication is everything. And then I think understand also. My lesson also is, especially when you're black and leading in a white community environment. You arrive. Some of people, not all, few people have already some biases against you.
Absolutely.
They think you're there because you're black. You're
Yes.
a product of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or what is called the positive discrimination. That's why you're there. Some people, not all, and then from there they think you don't have the legitimacy to lead. So I believe in leading from the center and not getting everybody's idea out there. I've never been afraid of, as they call it, because I read that book, Buy-in also. You take your idea, you put it in the middle of the whatever, and ask people to shoot it. If they can shoot it down, it's not a good idea. If it's still standing when everybody empty their guns, I'm moving forward. I don't care what people are thinking. It's like courage also to lead. I don't have a problem of opening up to criticism. Everybody criticize what I'm doing. Of course, in an organized, disciplined way, because the culture of discipline is important in an organization where everybody is doing things. So for me, I've always also involved people in the decision-making process. Never been afraid, never felt a sense of insecurity where you think, okay, people will challenge me. No, bring it on. I mean, if you have a great idea, I'll take it. If the idea is not good enough, I'm not taking it. Whoever you are, I don't care. So that's what I call also one of the aspects of leadership is moral courage. Standing for
I believe this was just a warm-up, and you were already diving deep into leadership. And I know I've known you as a leader. I remember the hunger strike that you were involved in back in college with Masen. We might not have time to talk about all of that, but what I want you to talk to me about right now is that your journey of education like spanned across through 3 continents, from Senegal to England to the US. Now, how those cultural environment and academic environment have shaped your being a school leader today? What have you learned from that background that you were using right now that is making you the leader you are?
That's a great question, because I mean, our experiences shape our leadership, inform our leadership. And I absolutely believe that the experience helped me a lot, whether it's in terms of competence, or in terms of vision, in terms of also style of leadership. Because it's huge to be able to be an inspector of education. Let's say elementary school, middle and high school teacher, inspector of education in Senegal. I taught in England, understand how remember also I was a monitor at the university in Dakar, and taught there. And coming here, at first, I was hungry to learn, because remember, after only 3 years of teaching in Portland, I was promoted, hired to become the head of school. I was, wow. Now, I wasn't afraid of my competence, but I was afraid of understanding the American school culture, parents' culture, because that's completely different. I know teaching, but how do you manage American parents? And remember that school was 98% white, middle class, people with means, money, and they're paying a lot of money. It was a private school. So how do you understand that? So
and that was in Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
But my training in Senegal was really solid. And then, being somebody who likes to learn, I started learning a lot of things. And then learned a lot of business books, as you know, because I went on and did a certificate of business management, because that certificate of business management helped me understand the business side of running a private school.
Yep.
And then learning about marketing and something. So, but that experience was, again, I personally think that I have an advantage over any school leader in the United States, because I understand three different worlds. Because again, French system. The school in Portland was a French school accredited by the French government. So from preschool all the way to middle school. So I was hiring French teachers, understanding French education system or everything. So you have the Senegalese education system, the French education system, the American education system, and also the international baccalaureate, because I was the first one to create the middle year program in Oregon. And I was also one of the pioneers of multilingual education in elementary school. I would say maybe in the US, but at least in Portland, the first one to introduce multilingualism in elementary school. with French, Mandarin, and Spanish. I mean, until
Did you
now,
say Mandarin? Chinese?
Mandarin, Chinese. In
Wow.
elements, three languages. You know, I like, I can define myself as being bold. Bold
Well,
in a, not
I was
reckless,
going to come to that. I
not
was
reckless,
going
but
to.
I like taking initiative. Uh, today, one of my college counselor of my high school was telling me, "Man, you're always having another idea." Because I shared with him a new initiative. She was, "Wow!" So, but anyway, that's me. So that experience, coming back to your question, was extremely helpful. And another way is when I talk about pedagogy, the approaches of Francophone approach and American approach of teaching something. When I talk
Yes.
about mathematics, I'm telling all my teachers, just to give an example, the
Yes.
experiential approach in the Francophone system, what is called touch on my experimental, and the Dewey approach, I do, we do, you do approach that collide when in terms of teaching mathematics. I always tell my American colleagues that no, the experiential learning is much better. Those kind of understanding, you bring it from from your own experience and from your own training. So it's huge for me to be able. I mean, and also as I said, my experience as community leaders was extremely helpful also in the United States because it's a democratic country. You need to listen to everybody, to be transparent, and to be ethical.
Well, you mentioned earlier that you actually took a certificate in business management to help you manage the school. What can you tell me about that in Oregon? Because I know you found that school in the verge of bankruptcy.
Yes.
And within a year or two, you overturned that situation to actually make it profitable. How did you manage that?
Yeah, that's one of my fully like I was hired. The school was really almost bankrupt, and they were looking for a head of school. And a lot of people applied, of course, from all over the country. And some of my colleagues, teachers from Belgium and France, because they knew me and say, Mr. Mbengue, Elimane, you need to apply. You need to apply. I said, man, apply for what? Head of school. I mean, I said, okay, I'm going to apply to rest my conscience because if I don't and things do not work and people will tell me you have nothing to say. You were, and then I applied the last deadline. I sent my application and I started the interview process. I went through the hiring committee first, and then they recommended me to the board because I went to the board of director to have an interview, and it was a long interview, a 2.5 hour interview. At the end of
2 hours and a half.
at the end of the interview, the board president, who is an amazing guy, he is extremely, a businessman, extremely successful. He managed a real estate merchant banking of billions of dollars, $2 billion maybe. And he was a little bit, it's seasoned. He looked at me and said, Mr. Bank, I think either you're bold or you're crazy. So, or you're a genius. I don't know, but because I've been doing interview for years, I've never seen a candidate like you. That's what he told me.
Wow.
I said, okay. I'm just really. I said, I'm just really seeing bold. So he hired me, and they offered me the job. I'm saying, wow. Now what I'm going to do? I am head of school. And then I I was more interested in organizing the pedagogy and teaching and learning. And then by November, the financial crisis hit. The business manager told me, you don't have money to pay his salary for the rest of the school year. We're talking about November. Okay? So I made a calculation. I said, we have two things. I'm going to be transparent. And that's where I decided I'm going to at least understand the business side, business management, about accounting, accounting, marketing, strategic planning, and financials for non-accounting and human resource management, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I developed a cash flow improvement plan right away, and then came to the parents, be very transparent, and the teacher. I say, okay, because fortunately the first class I took was financials. Okay,
Mm.
and then we start talking about. I was very transparent. Came to the teacher and say, hey, I cannot. If you're a couple, I cannot pay two salaries. I'm going to pay one of you. The other one will wait until we get some
Wow.
money and donation. I'm telling you what is called system day and double double. I took my own. I was so crazy. Okay, because back then I had to do some layoff because they hired some what's called ads, the assistants that were doing certain things. I said no, we cannot afford that. So I laid off the ads. But as you know, by American law, if you lay off somebody you have 48 hours to pay them, they do.
Yes.
You don't have the money. So do you know what I do? Went on and empty my own savings account to pay these people. Okay,
You emptied your
my,
own
my saving
savings account.
saving account to pay these people to show how, and I let people know. I got all the parents together. I explained to them what's going on and how I'm gonna fix this. Okay, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna ask them by December to pay me next year's tuition. Start paying it. You see, but I clearly told them this is where we have, and they start paying me in December next year's tuition. I'm functioning with next year's tuition, finish the year, and little by little, and then the board also put, I mean, their houses. They guaranteed their houses to take loans, bank loans. I mean, this is great story. So you know what? I talked to the teachers. Personally, I was not able to have all my salaries, and in a couple of months, the parents agreed. Nobody left, and and the teachers, I froze the salaries, and then little by little, I mean, the enrollment increase, cut the thing, and I follow my cash flow improvement, and in 2 3 years, I get back to where I wanted to be. And I doubled, I mean, I increased the salaries twice because you remember I froze it 1 year, but I tried to give back to the teachers. I give them a double increase. And then little by little, we went out of that crazy hole. And then not only that, but we opened, as I promised to the board, opened a middle school with international baccalaureate. It was, at the time, it was a dream because nobody opened a middle year program, IB, in Oregon. So I was the first one to open it. In 2 years, we got it. And then it was just, and sometimes the board member, board chair, a few years later, look at me and say, "You're just a genius." I say, "Well, no, it's just a phase and hard work. I mean, a phase, hard work, and transparency, and people followed that." So that's my story and you know what? The school did not have a website. I called our friend Dari from Senegal.
Yes.
Dari, because part of marketing, we needed a website for people to find us. You're talking
Because,
about 2003,
absolutely.
okay? And I told
2003.
Dari, I say, hey, I need a website. I don't have money. Find me a guy who knows how to build a website there. You find me a guy. I pay him for my own money. I think I pay him 300,000 CFA franc. He built me a website, sent it to me with Dreamweaver, and I learned about Dreamweaver myself and put the website together. And I became the maintenance guy, and that's how I learned to build a website from scratch, Dreamweaver, and maintain. I built a few more websites from there, and then build a donation button, fundraising, and those kind of things. So until now, our dear friend I told me about that craziness, how you call Senegal to get a cheap website and put it there. But anyway, it was a great story, and yeah.
What I'm taking from this is something you mentioned earlier, that leading by example. I truly believe that you were able to get those teachers on board because you led by example. You took your own money
Yeah.
to pay certain people, took your own money to put in the school. Well, if you're asking them to put time and wait for a better future, no wonder they accept it.
Yeah.
But Beng, with all of that great work that you did in Oregon, how did you end up in Kansas City and at Lafayette academy?
Well, in Portland, we had a huge vision because the vision was to create a high school after that because our school was really going really well. People are coming and so on. And finally, a group of teachers want to be a union. I'm saying, okay, union for what? Because private schools in the U.S. do not have unions. And I felt a little bit that it was a backstabbing because I was the guy, you can ask any teachers anywhere. My teachers in Portland and even here now, that's what I do. Whatever you ask for in terms of resources, I give it to you. There's no limit. Okay? And I started even giving personal budget to teachers over there. As I told you, I increased salary a couple of times. But some teachers didn't want accountability because I am not here to be a nice guy. I have a work to finish and accountability. That's how they started it. Mm-hmm. And we created a huge crisis. And then the board asked me to resign. I was just shocked. I said, okay, I'm moving forward. So they paid me a lot of money. It was a severance package.
Severance package, yes.
Severance package. I say, okay, but I'm going to tell you something. I told them, if I leave, the school will collapse because parents will leave and you'll get back to the situation you were before. People did not believe me. I mean, we can find online what I told them. They thought I was. I said, it's fine. And then I left and was hired the same year. I did not even have 2 months out of unemployment. I was right away hired by another school to be assistant director. And then what happened was, I would say 40% of the parents left. It was shocking. Really, really shocking. People never saw things like that. So I moved forward and was hired by the first charter school to be assistant director for 1 year. And the next year, I have this opportunity to come in Kansas City to lead a charter school, a bigger one in French. So I applied and I was interviewed. The board chair came to Portland to interview me. I was flown here. I flew to Kansas City. They interviewed me. I went through all kind of interview, teachers, board members, parents, and then they decided that I was the best candidate. That's how they hired me and offered me the job. It was 13 years ago. Mm-hmm. So back then, I thought I would never stay anywhere more than 6 years. For me, 2 contracts of 3 years, I'm gone. Go somewhere else. Because that's where you make more money, because you sell yourself more and move forward. But when I was hired here, I had a lot of things to do. The board wanted me to create a high school. It's like the vision I had in Portland. That's what is occurring here. I started another middle year program, International Baccalaureate. Create a high school. And high school graduate is a student last year, and then it's doing very well. It's ranked number 3 in Missouri in terms of APR, Annual Performance Report. Mm-hmm. And that's another lesson also, is having faith. Because when we started the high school, I produced a plan, expansion plan, and I submitted to the board. The board says it's really great, but you need to raise $7 million. Okay? For $7 million. I presented to the parents. They said, that's a great plan, but where are you going to find in 2 years $7 million? I say, what I want you to do, just approve it. The board approve it pending, condition that we have the funding and so on. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I start approaching foundations for fundings. Yes. There is one foundation that is really the guru of funding in Kansas City, School Smart Casey, and I worked with them. They rejected me a few times, and I came back because my idea was, I am going to create a plan, expansion plan, so good that it will be hard for a foundation to say no and go and sleep. Because I know what people needed. I'm going to educate more low-income, disadvantaged kids, making an effort of outreach. So after being rejected a few times by the philanthropy organization, our last meeting, the guy called me, the executive director, we met, and he told me, "Mr. Mbengue, you're just like the Terminator. You never abandon." And then now he gave me $3 million. He gave me $3 million. The next thing
One
is,
foundation gave you $3 million.
yeah, twice, 1.5 million.
Okay.
And then another gave me 750 million, 50,000. Another gave me 400,000. The federal government, I raised $1.3 million. And then the next thing you know, we bought a building, moved things. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I look at it, I said, in leadership, by the way, you cannot wait until the path is completely clear. There's always some common declarative.
Absolutely.
There's always a lot of uncertainty. And if you cannot navigate the uncertainty with your face, putting your eyes on the objective, the target, and navigating that, you will not move forward. And that's what I let people know. We move forward. We've done it over and over again, in such a way that, I mean, I can give many examples, but I know it's important to have that to understand that there's uncertainty that you need to navigate.
Meng, something that I understand is that you took that school from an elementary school. There was only one building.
Yes.
And now you are up to how many?
We have 4 schools now. It was when I arrived, it was one building, and they were renting a church. And then we bought a new building my first year there. When we moved to another building. And then now we have 2 elementary school, 1 middle, and 1 high school. So we doubled the enrollment, and as I said, it is the largest French immersion program in the country now. And it's an interesting. I mean, Academy Lafayette is an icon in the city in terms of education. It's the highest, the third highest performing district in the state out of 550. We have 550 school district. We have the third highest annual performance report as a district. Our high school has the third highest APR of high school, 500 high school. Anyway, and the city, Academy Lafayette has impacted tremendously the city. And then it's not only academic, but sports. We have always been the top. I mean, we won the state championship for cross country, middle school cross country, and track and field 3 years in a row. Soccer, we beat everybody. I mean, it's just an amazing education institution for kids.
You know, as you already know, this season for the Mentium podcast is Stories of Impact. So I'm glad you mentioned impact there, but I want to talk to you about something else before we dive into that. Earlier, you summarized a lesson in leadership where you say, it's not all about seeing the whole path before you go. So it reminds me of us saying that it's like going up in a staircase at night where you can't see the whole staircase, yes. But you got to take one step at a time in order to move forward.
Yeah.
But Elimane, given your training in Senegal to become an inspector of education, and then ended up to being recognized in France, I think it was like Knight of Academia or something. Like, what values really did you hold on to get such a distinction? So can you tell me a little bit about that and what it entails?
The French consul, the Consul General de France in Chicago, came to Kansas City to give me the award Chevalier dans l'Ordre des Palmes Académiques. Which is
how big is that?
It's a big deal, of course. It's a big deal. Second, it's the French. It's the French recognition of my work in being. I mean, the biggest French school, and I mean, think about it. It's the best school in town, and it helped develop the French language. We send kids in France. We have kids, American kids who go to France for university. I have a kid this year who went to China for university because he did Mandarin here in high school. And now he's doing his high school, his university in Mandarin. So I was also awarded last year, I think, the icon of education by a magazine,
By
by
what?
by another magazine, by the Ingram's magazine. It's the
Ingrams.
business
Okay.
magazine.
Okay.
It's a business magazine in Kansas and Missouri.
Hmm.
So I was chosen among six others to be icon of education. But in Paris, that's what it is. We have a good relationship with the French government because they know that, of course, I mean, we have a lot of French teachers. One of the particularity of our school is we have teachers from all over the world, all over the Francophone world, all over the world. I'll say Mexico, I mean China, India, everywhere. I think it's one of the, if not the most diverse school in the world. It's amazing.
Well, now, can you talk to me about challenges? Because I know leadership in education is already very, very complex because you have to navigate a lot of grounds like teachers, parents, like school boards. How have you really managed to go through all those challenges and still standing strong?
Well, when I was hired to be first head of school, now I'm superintendent, I told the board, some people thought it was crazy, but no, it was not. Before they hired me, I said, okay, if you hire me, I'm in charge of management, you were in charge of governance. I don't want to be micromanaged. If I don't perform, you can fire me and hire somebody else. But you can give me a bus, drive it to St. Louis, and tell me which corner I need to turn right, turn left, where I need to stop. What you need is the bus and its passengers should be arriving to St. Louis safe on time with the money you gave me, with the gas you gave me.
Yes.
Where I'm gonna stop, have a rest, and the speed I'm driving. I mean, of course, I need to follow the law.
Obey the law.
When I say
Yes.
obey the law, is follow the board policy.
Yes.
And then they hired me
That's a
because
great analogy.
the important thing you need to know also is prior to me, my predecessor would last only 3 years in this position because it's extremely complex.
And you've been there for how long now?
13. So
13.
three
13.
years, 3 years you're gone because you caught into the middle of politics. You have the board here, you have parents who want to dictate their will, you have teachers who manipulate things, and you have board members who report to parents, and everybody will go around you and go to the board. And then the next thing you know, you have no authority. That's what I told people, you can't do that. So, and that's, if you know the politics of school district, public school district in the United States, it's already that. People will run for office because run for board just for one agenda to fire the superintendent or to do something. It's just crazy. But my first few years was a lot of challenges because I came with changes I needed to do, and people will go to the board. But I had a good relationship with my board members. I have every Monday morning or every week we have a breakfast. We have a breakfast until today. I have weekly meeting with my board president. I'll tell him or her whatever is going on. She will tell me or he will tell me what their worries. We are always on the same length. It's the principle of no surprise.
The principle of no surprise.
No surprise. If there's something happening, I want to inform my board chair right away. I don't want him to learn it from the press or from the media, from somebody else. Whether it's good or bad, they need to know it. You have to be candid. You have to be candid and build that trust. Because if you don't build that trust with your board, they'll fire you. I mean, because they're politics all the time. And then I'm extremely transparent. I share all data and then let people know where we need to improve. And as I said, I've had a lot of challenges with teachers who thought I'm not smart enough to run the school, maybe. Or I have my education from Africa, it will not count. But you know what? Number one, if you're black, maybe whether you're black or no, but never show anger or overreact, especially in public. Keep your cool. Sometimes you go to a meeting and somebody lack your respect. I always keep cool, smile, and I don't have that many more. It was my first few years where people will gang together and try to go to the board to have you get you fired and so on, but it never worked and I had even issue with my PTO One time I had a great
And what
PTO.
is the PTO for somebody who doesn't
It's a
know?
parent-teacher organization.
Okay.
Parent organization. I mean, we work together. I try to, build a real great relationship with
Hmm.
parents because our parents here are very, very involved.
They are.
Time left there is they're extremely involved. So sometimes I had some issues with some PTO presidents who want to get me fired, want to build some things. I said, I said you can bring it on. So, but the board will not follow her. So I ended up now I have a great PTO for the first few years, and then even before, great peer parent, extremely supportive, extremely helpful. I mean, we just passed the bond, a 4.7, $470 million bond in Kansas City, and our community has been extremely instrumental because our parents they can shake the city, they're amazing. So you need to respect them.
Absolutely.
Leading is, if I was to define it, also is caring. You have to care for your kids, for your students. You have to care for your teachers. Be there to support them, to listen to them, and to deal with toxicity. You have to care for your parents, listen to them, and make your board look good. The board look good when results are great and things are great. And I think my board is very proud at this moment. That's what I think.
Look, while you were speaking, you said something that caught my attention, and I didn't even realize that, or if it would matter. But since somebody raised it, let's talk about it. Somebody told you that all your degrees were from Africa, so you should not be a leader here. What did you respond to that?
Number one, I'm so proud of my degree in Senegal because I show value of my education. I don't want to attribute my success to a Western education, a degree from Paris or the United States. What I'm telling you is, sometimes the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
That is
Let
true.
your results talk, okay?
Absolutely.
That's what is important. Let your results talk, and don't respond to those kind of nonsense. And I've never tried to be retaliating against a teacher here. I tried not to do that. They all left because they didn't get what they want, which is
Hmm.
great. And then the funny thing is, the teachers who left, many of them want to come back
Of course.
because they realize the grass is not greener somewhere else. And then we treat our teachers with extreme respect. We give them personal budget. Most school districts don't do that. We give them. I have my own faculty advisory council. I meet with the
Mhm.
teacher advisory council. I meet with them. I meet with them every month, listen to their concern, address it. We talk about it. Lately, I increased the salary tremendously, and everybody's thanking me that they're really happy that we had this huge salary increase. I went and forwarded it to the board, and I wanna make sure that we care for your teachers, care for your kids, and
Okay.
your parents. So
Ilman, before I talk about impact, I've noticed something when I was there because I visited the school and even had the chance to be interviewed by your students,
yes,
uh, the ones who were in journalism.
yes.
But one thing that I realized is that you hired many, many, many teachers from Africa. Do you get any pushback on that, or how does it work?
Yes, I hired many teachers from Africa, many. But I'm not the one to hire. The principals hire. The principals do interview and make recommendations. The thing I see when they make a recommendation to me, I look at whether or not they follow the process we defined, whether or not the candidate is qualified. But at the same time, I have a principle, very simple principle. I will not hire somebody because they're Africans or Senegalese, but I will not abstain from hiring somebody because they're African or Senegalese because of fearing of pushback. That's why I'm talking about moral courage. If you're really good, my teachers, African teachers, and a teacher from Israel or from India, from France, Canada, they're extremely competent, and they evaluated by the principals. So we, as I said, we have a very diverse population. We have teachers from Burundi, from Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, Niger, and where else? So, and then a lot of teachers. So, of course, I'm talking about Africa. I mean, we have teachers from Algeria, from Morocco, and then we have, of course, France, and Canada. I mean, Belgium. So what I'm saying is, I hire people based on their competence, not the origin. Okay, if they're competent, they're competent.
Yes,
And it's illegal in the U.S. anyway to discriminate for national origin.
it is.
Okay, or gender, or I mean ethnicity, or disability, or religion. So what I make sure that the process, my principals who hire teachers follow the process, and then the candidate is competent, has what is needed. So then I deal with the visa parts
Oh,
with the lawyers. I deal with visa parts, and then and the lawyers make sure they're here. So far, we have been very lucky to have teachers from all over the world, many from Africa or France or Canada, and in Asia even, and they're doing well. So it's a very diverse teacher
it
population.
is. It is. It is. Now, Eliman, we are almost closing, but we cannot do that without talking about impact. Now, as an educator, what would you attribute to the impact you are having on your kids? Is it your leadership style? Is it your knowledge? Is it your educational background? What is it that you are using to have an impact not only on the kids but also on the community at large?
Personally, I believe in the strength of a coalition. You need to build a coalition, and then of course the power of a community, because our community is our secret too. We have an amazing community. We involve them, and then last but not least is the magic of communication.
Hmm.
Communication is extreme. You need to be transparent. You need to communicate, get people
Absolutely.
involved, build a team, and be a PLC. If you have to talk about academic, I mean teaching jargon is PLC is professional learning community.
Hmm.
Having a professional learning community, like teachers that collaborate, work together, a team, parents
Yes.
who are partners, that we listen to them. I have a conseil d'école where parents, teachers, and students sit together to talk about what can be improved, what is great. I think it's the whole thing of bringing people together, and then collaborative leadership, and making sure every stakeholder is involved in the decision making process. It doesn't make you a weak leader or you don't know where you're going, because when push comes to shove, I've never been shy of taking my responsibility and making the right decision.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I'm alone. I mean, that's the loneliness of leadership. But I try
Hmm.
to respect people and communicate and make the why of this decision. And I want to make sure to listen to everyone before the decision is made. People think it's a waste of time. It's not. That's what I believe in. That's what I
Hmm.
do in Senegal. That's what I'm doing here.
Now, Eliman, do you have a story to share over like a student, say a student or a teacher or a parent who's been impacted by the work that you do over there?
We have a lot. A couple of weeks ago, I went to Costco and I met a grandparent, an African American grandparent. And he saw me and came to me and greeted me and told me, "Thank you so much because you gave my." It's a former grandparent. It's no longer grandparent because the kids they had 4 kids here who graduated,
Okay.
and then he saw me and say, "Thank you very much because my grandkids were given extremely excellent education in your city," and I see it all the time. And my graduate kids, if the kids who graduated from middle school and went to the other high schools, they have. I mean, all those teachers think. I mean, they're extremely well prepared. They most of the time they're valedictorian.
Hmm.
Most of the time, I have kids.
Oh.
last year, 2 years ago, I went to the University of Chicago with my son, and we found another classmate, same kids. I mean, same class. She's doing medical studies there. I mean, I was so proud to two minority kids. I mean, accepted to the University of Chicago from the same grade class, and then going there. I have kids from everywhere, Harvard, I mean, Duke, Brown. I mean, it's just amazing. They're really well prepared. And then the parents, sometimes, especially when the kids graduate and go somewhere else, they realize the impact it has, the education. I'm real proud of what we're doing.
So, how many of your own children have gone through your school?
So I have 3 kids. One graduated here, and then 2 are still here. One is in 11th grade doing full IB, and then the other one is in 10th grade also getting ready
So all of them are there.
Yeah, because, I personally, I think it's the best education you can offer kids. Because think about it. I mean, not only you have the language, French, it's in French. I mean, our kids outperform their peer in English language art. We're teaching kids, 80% of the classes are in French, only they have English 1 hour and 1 hour a day. Yet when you go to the state test in English language art, our kids outperform their peer in the suburb in English and in science. We have kids extremely great in science too. I mean, mathematics, and they're doing great. So on top of that, these kids are exposed. Our kids go to France in 7th grade. They go to Guadeloupe. They went to Guadeloupe, China, Senegal. Every year we send a group of kids, high schoolers, to Senegal. They're getting ready to go, and Costa Rica. And they have. I mean, I'm saying. I always tell people, I'm not joking. I'm every day I'm trying to provide the best education that public money can buy, because this is normally a private education. But I can do it alone. I do it with a team. I have a fantastic team. My admin team is amazing. My teachers are great. My high school teacher team is I think the best. They're so caring, great. So, but I think in terms of impact, it's amazing, and then that's why parents support us. They support the education, they support the teaching and learning, they support our teachers. I mean, I'll tell you something. One day I had a teacher who was stuck in Senegal. I mean, it's something I did it one time. I want to do it again, because only those things you do it only one time.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, I have a good relationship with American embassy. They're amazing, and when you write to them and say, "Hey, I have a teacher, he's about to come," they always try to give them, an appointment that is reasonable. They can get the visa and come and teach.
Yes.
Only embassy I always had a problem in Senegal. I don't know why. Maybe they see the bank, they say, okay, maybe these guys, whatever. And I had teachers who were always struggling. And then one particular teacher was given an appointment. We're in July,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave him an appointment June next year, like at the end of the school year. I'm trying to write to the embassy, somebody, the officer, and say, hey, I sent a letter. That ignored it. The guy told me, even the ambassador cannot change that. I say, okay. Now I say, okay, let me do it the American way. So I wrote an email to my parents and said, send an email to this embassy because they block our kid there. I'm telling you, in 24 hours, the next day, the guy called me and said, tell your parent to stop. And then tell your teacher to call me.
Oh my God.
And then it was Friday. The teacher got his rendezvous on Monday. And I'm telling you, the legal counsel of the governor of the state called me and said, the governor and the mayor, I have all these community leaders. They called me and say, talk to me, what can you do about the situation? I'm sorry, but it was resolved. So those are the craziest things you do once. Because I want to have a good relationship with these embassies. They're great. I know they have to go through all these processes and crazy things. We have a good relationship with the embassy in Dakar, and I think it was one time things that we did. So,
what I know about you is that if you had to do it again, you will do it.
No, no. I think there's some folly that you do once because I don't want to.
No,
Because I don't want to put these great
I
people working
understand,
at
but
the
in
embassy.
this particular situation, you had to stand up for somebody. You had to stand up for your school and what you believe in.
Yeah.
So to
So
me, uh-huh.
so I again I said these embassies are great and they work really well with us and they understand the shortage of teachers in the United States and that help us. But those are some, as I said, sometimes you do something. And again, I don't want to put anybody in this kind of situation and then
Mhm.
abuse parents things, but that's the kind of parents we have. When I talked about the bond passing it, they got organized, shake the city, and then the bond passed with 85%, which is
Okay.
Kansas City had not passed a bond for the last almost 55
And
years.
what is the bond?
A bond is an authorization to borrow money, and then the city will pay it, meaning parents will vote and say yes or no. They will increase their tax, their their residence tax.
Mm.
They will increase it by $200 a year or $300 a year for 20 years to pay for the loan of $470 million. The parents have to vote it. The citizens have to vote that, and
Okay.
then they voted to agree to increase it so that you can go and get the money. They'll pay for it. That's what is the bond here.
Okay.
So the city had not voted for a bond for, I would say, almost 60 years.
Okay.
But this one was very successful because you cannot pass a bond less than, you need at least 57% of the vote. We got
Mhm.
85% of the vote. And I think, as I say, that's the kind of parents we have, amazing and
Wow.
involved
Wow.
and good. Yeah.
Now, Eliman, for young immigrants or educators who are listening to this podcast, what advice would you give them about staying like deeply rooted in their own culture while striving for global excellence?
Be yourself, number one. Don't be somebody else. I mean, you're great. I mean,
Authenticity.
you are yourself, and then there's so, we don't realize it, but there's so many. I mean, Senegalese value, African values, that if you follow them, it will it will take you wherever you want.
Like what? Could
Like
you
jump,
name a few?
jump,
Jump. How
jump,
would you define jump in English?
jump. It to be ethical, and you need to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Ethics and work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When I say to people, delimitate your zone of jom,
Mm-hmm.
is things that you jom nga def ko, manam you would
Yes.
not do it.
Yes.
They stay
That's
away
your
from
red
what
line. That's your red
that's
line.
your
You
red
don't
line.
cross it.
That
Yes.
I'm not, you're going to work hard and you have a red line. You
Absolutely.
work hard, you have jump, you work really hard, and you're ethical. If you do that and you have faith, believe in yourself, I mean, you can go wherever you want. I think so. Everybody, I mean, Africans, when you get here, you have the potential to be extremely successful if you follow your values and respect the law of the country, respect their tradition, and don't try to look down on people on something like that.
Okay.
Americans are amazing people, amazing people.
Eliman, this next question, I think I will ask it for my viewers in Senegal.
Okay.
People back home are asking us, what can we do with our experience here? What can we do to give back to the country that nurtured us, that educated us, that did everything for us to be here now? Especially you as a global educator, somebody who's very successful in your field. What are your thoughts about ways of giving back to your country?
Well, that's a very good question, and I'm sure that every one of us is thinking about how can I give back. So personally, I try to fund. I mean, there's an organization in my hometown, and every year I try to fund them for the fourniture scolaire students, books and cahiers and books. I try to fund them and give them, and then, but it's not enough. My dream is sharing my experience. Unfortunately, it's not very easy. In 2016, I went to Senegal. I went to the Ministry of Education and I said, hey, I really want to share with you experience I have for free. I mean, it was hard even to meet the minister, the director. I mean, I was there. Nobody wants to meet with me. I'm saying, okay.
You wanted to share your experience for
And for
free.
free, I mean, and no, but
Okay.
I'm also political. I'm part of the PASTEF party for years. I'm part of the educators commission, and I worked on the plan, education plan, since 2022. We started our meeting for 2 years to work on, but in the middle of the crisis, but unfortunately, I feel like the education system in Senegal has the potential of being a Premier League, but it is now like in a Nawetan situation. That's how I see it. Because, because it's unfortunate. Somebody like me, I mean, I've never been approached even by the minister is trying to run his, and if you want to push yourself there, people will think you want I mean, appointed somewhere and you're looking for something, unfortunately. And then if you stay, nobody look at. But my experience, especially reforming the high school with real world learning, making sure that every Senegalese bachelier is ready for college, has done a college credit, or a profession, a career, right? Then it's possible to do it, and that's what it would help. It would help with entrepreneurship, with job embedded learning, with internship, with clients requested project for high school. It's huge. What is it? Because in Kansas City is at the forefront of this reform of real world learning, and I'm part of it or something. I'm saying, okay, this is what our country needs to resolve the unemployment and training, right at the end of high school and the link to, and so on. But people don't listen, or they just ignore it because they think you're going to take their place, something like that, and if you push a little bit, people think you want something. But I think it's a waste if I don't share what I have, because there's no to have another Senegalese to go through what I grow would be hard. To get an institute, professor, inspector in Senegal, and an inspector in the US, and understanding all these things going on, IB, and all this wealth of information and practical knowledge that you're ready to share. I mean, it's frustrating because that's the biggest impact I can do, help reform the high school and make it one of the best in the world. Because I know how to...
I might have a small solution to that I will suggest. I know I already talked to you about the Mentium Institute. I want you to be part of that and become a host where you can actually have a curriculum, or however you design it. It is a place that you can share your knowledge with people in the world. Because what I'm always saying is the only way you can become a generational failure is if you die with everything that you know.
That's my biggest fear.
Yeah, I know it is difficult, trying to give, but because you are not the only one who shared this with me. I have another guy who's in computer engineering. I think he built a system for their civil servants like extrait and naissance, all those stuff. So he went to Senegal to offer it to the government, and they were not even willing to meet with him. Now he patented it, and some other countries in Africa are using it.
Of course.
So for us not to fall into that trap, let's try to do something about it. I want to invite you on the platform. I will show it to you, and we'll craft a plan to do something about this.
Well, thank you for the invitation. As you know, I think I shared with you that I had some plan to do some podcasts and share share things. I told you about it, and for a long
Yeah.
time, but I never find the time to do it because I'm caught into different things. But that's my biggest fear. I mean, of course, writing a book, putting things, and then sharing in social network and a platform where people can listen to what your experience. I mean, 23 years of school leadership. I mean, and all this experience I have, and people I met, and how to reform education system, teaching and learning,
When
and
you
leadership.
say 23 years, you were only counting the time that you did it here in the
Yeah,
US.
yes. Here as
But
a
in
school leader.
Senegal, you were an inspector of education. You were
Yeah,
not
yes.
counting that.
In the US. And then
Yes.
working in the French system, working in the international baccalaureate because I did all the training to become international baccalaureate coordinator and
Mhm.
head of school, and the American education system, the charter school system, that is the school of choice. So there's so many things that we can share with the world, whether it's a book or a podcast or a talk. I mean,
Well,
inviting people to discuss things and learning from other people too. It's something that has been my dream of sharing that knowledge because otherwise it will be terrible.
I will invite you on the and give you the platform to just do that. I know you have some other things you need to attend to. So let me ask you my final question. Mr. Mbeng, if you had one more hour during the day, what would you use it for?
Reading, reading or playing with my kids, my family. That would be 30-minute reading, 30-minute my family. That's what I would do.
Wow.
Because family is, the more you realize, very important.
It
And
is.
reading is important. My family and reading. Of course, you Muslim families, our family is important. I
So if
mean,
I
of
hear,
course,
well, feeding your mind and being there for your
yeah,
family.
for family.
What a beautiful way to land this plan. Mr. Mbeng, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. What an incredible journey. One that reminds us that leadership is not bound by geography and that true impact transcends borders. Elimane Mbengue's story challenges us to think bigger, lead with vision, and never lose sight of the power of education to transform lives. Whether you were an educator, a leader, or someone striving to make a difference, his path is a powerful reminder that excellence begins with purpose. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stories of Impact. And if today's conversation inspired you, be sure to subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear, and leaves us a review. Until next time, keep showing up, keep leading with heart, and keep creating your own story of impact. Now, if you know anybody whose story needs to be heard, please put them in touch with me. I am Majama, and this is Mentium. Peace.